Сейчас пойдем нашего красавчика цеплять. Американского. American boy, American joy. I hope that he will stay shirtless. Would be better. You don't need this. You don't need this.
Perfect. I just know we had the mics, so let's sure.
Hi.
How you doing?
Nice to see you. So we are always filming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it. You're a great place.
And just to start, tell me a bit about yourself, please. What do you do? Where do you live? What is your interests, hobbies?
I'm a Viking at heart. So my heritage is from the Scandinavian countries. And so naturally, I think the Vikings love to explore, love to go out and experience new things and find new lands and test out all different kinds of ways of being and living and explore. And that's really at the core of who I am. I'm a Viking at heart. So my first love was American football. I had the opportunity to play professionally. And that career ended with a neck injury to where I can never play again. So when that got done, I think I really tuned into more of not as much what my ego wanted or what felt good to my ego, but more of what resonated with my heart. And that came down to really working with guys, helping guys become the best versions of themselves. I was a 2-year captain at a Division I college football program. So leading men is something I've always been very good at. And getting what I want at the highest level in life is something I was able to achieve at a very young age with getting to the NFL. So naturally, the next move for me was being able to help other guys really master a craft and become their highest version of themselves. And so I've been doing that for about 9 years. And then the Viking part comes back in with being able to just explore the world and go different all kinds of places and date in all different kinds of places, which is what we were talking a little bit about, and explore to see what's out there in the world. And so I get paid basically to help men become the best version of themselves while continually doing more of that myself.
So, some facts about you, as I understood. You're a professional sportsman, former. Now you travel a lot. You meet a lot of people, and you are coach for men. Yeah, in relationships, lifestyle, mentality, thinking, values. Impressing. Let's go then. I have questions. So today I prepared some questions about relationships for you, and what I'm really interested in your experience, your opinion, your values. What do you think of relationships, especially if you have experience in dating with girls from different countries? Interesting.
Yes.
So yeah, just tell me whatever you want. Go with the flow.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
did you have a specific question you
Yeah.
want me to build
I
on?
want to start with your perfect match. I have this section of questions topic about your perfect match, and the first question is let's start with this. What are your red flags in girls? Something that you can see from the beginning and you don't want to continue anymore with the girl if you see this behavior, activities, or something like actions. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the first things that I see that's a pretty quick turnoff for me is when a girl either acts like I'm not what she really feels, and I can elaborate on that, or there's not an awareness of my inherent value. So I think girls that are very connected to their bodies, connected to their intuition, they know pretty quickly the kind of person I am, the kind of values I have, without even having to talk about it. And that's something I really admire because a woman that I want is very connected to her intuition, very connected to her body. In the modern world, most women are actually very disconnected from their intuition for many different reasons. I mean, you have birth control, you have other different hormone altering substances that women take, disconnected from their body, the food, the lifestyles. But when a girl is able to really show up in that space and see me and acknowledge me for the person I am without having to like make me jump through a bunch of hoops because I don't do that, it really demonstrates a level of confidence to me that she has to be vulnerable and acknowledging the kind of person I am. But also,
Can I ask her?
yeah, go ahead.
Does it mean that you expect her to take first steps or be active in the beginning of your relationship. If she, like you said, that she has to notice the
Yeah.
person you are.
Yeah.
So, are you expecting some active, like actions from her or not?
Only in the way of her showing up in like a feminine, attractive way, not disconnected, not making me like prove myself per se. Like, I think there's girls that show up with the energy of like, okay, monkey, dance for me. Okay, prove yourself to me. And it's like, I don't do that. I don't need to do that. I'm gonna show up powerfully as I am, but I don't play those games.
Yeah.
Understand? And so girls that fully are aware of the man I am and aren't little girls, they don't do that. So I'm not saying that it doesn't take some time to build trust, but girls that act like disconnected and act like I have to try to show off for them, I just don't play those games.
And okay. And you said that for you it's important that the girl should be like to be connected with her intuition, body, soul. Do you know that it is true in the beginning, especially because you've known the person very good?
Yeah. So a gift that I have is being able to feel a certain level of stillness and confidence in other people. And so I can tell pretty quickly if someone is calm and centered because there's a deeper level of self-love and connection they have with themselves, or if they're frantic and lost in the ways of the world.
Mm.
So it's just kind of an intuitive sense that I have. I feel I'm very connected to my body and I trust what I'm feeling in that space with a girl. It's very rarely wrong. And so I can figure out pretty quick if a girl is more connected to her body or not, based off a level of stillness and calmness that I feel from her.
Okay, it's interesting. I never heard something like this. I mean,
Yeah.
the green flag.
Yeah. And I also don't think like, I don't know. I also know that a lot of guys aren't me. So they don't function like me. But I also think I'm an anomaly. Like, I feel like I'm really high up in a scale of men. And so I think we think differently when you're at that place. You know what I mean? Like, you value different things.
Your brain works differently because yeah,
Yes.
you just see the world.
Correct. 'Cause it's like, I know I have that value. And if you can't see that, or you pretend like it's not there,
Yeah.
or you feel like you can't let me see that because you don't want me to have too big of an ego, it's like those are little girl games that like I'm just not involved with. See, because my value is not up for question. I know my value. So there's not you can either act ignorant to it, or we can both just acknowledge it and we can move forward and have an actual genuine interaction.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
And so the second red flag that you don't want to see in a girl.
Yeah. So something I really value is elegance.
Um,
So like a woman, and this is what I actually really love about the Russian culture, is the way that women carry themselves. The same thing in the Middle East. Women in the Middle East tend to carry themselves very highly as well. And I know in the Middle East, it's very religious based. In Russia, I could maybe it's just built into the culture as far as how the women carry themselves. Probably because there's a lot of competition and you have to find a ways to separate yourself, but a certain level of elegance and not disconnection from the world, but like almost like they're not overly involved with everybody in the world. It's like, I'm in my space, I'm doing my thing, and I don't need to have to talk to everybody or engage with everybody. So there's like a protection of her space, yes, that she has. I'm not saying she can't be social, but she's just very conscious of her energy, her space, and who she's sharing it with. And so that, along with the elegance, those two things, are something I really value. So the red flags of that would be a girl that's just like always open with everyone, always talking to everybody, kind of like the life of the party. That's not something I really like. Or she doesn't really carry herself very highly. My mom, my grandma, they all held themselves of a very high stature, and so that's just something I really value in a woman.
hmm,
Yeah.
okay, good. And third,
The third big red flag.
actually, you're
Yeah.
all that you're mentioning is like red and green flags.
Yeah, so I would say the third one is a girl that doesn't have like, I look at skin, like body skin, and I look at body shape. And if there's not, like a nice body shape because she takes care of herself, um, or if there's, like, noticeable a lot of, like, skin issues, now a lot of times people have some stuff on their face, whatever, right? I do too. But it just, like, in general, shape and healthy skin to me is like a massive, massive green flag. So the opposite of that obviously would be a big red flag because
Yeah.
the skin and the body on the outside are just direct reflections of what's going on the inside. And so I value someone that really takes care of their own personal health, um, internally and outwardly.
Hmm. Makes sense. It's like for me the same. I always look at the appearance because for me, health is the biggest, like one of the biggest values in my life.
Yes.
And that's why I need a partner who will lead the same lifestyle as me and have the same values. Because even if I see that somebody is eating not healthy junk food, I always like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree completely. And you know, that's just, I live the same way. I grew up that way.
yeah,
I value my body, I value my health. And so obviously if I'm to be around someone a lot, then that matters big time to me, how they're treating their bodies.
yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
So you mentioned that you've been in different countries, in many countries, and you dated girls. Yeah,
Yes.
as I understood. By the way, are you single right now?
Yes.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
it's good. But when was your last relationships and how long?
We broke up in December of not last year, but the year before. So it's been over a year. We were together for 7 months.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
So you've been dating two different girls.
Yep.
Have you named countries? Some of them.
Yeah. I mean, Russia, Brazil, Greece, Colombia, Turkey, Spain,
You meet
Germany.
them when you come to that country or where?
Yeah.
Where? Hmm. You have any type? Your type of color of hair, or
Yeah. I mean, a beautiful woman is a beautiful woman to me.
Mm,
It's like if she has beautiful, long, black, thick hair or blonde, long, voluminous hair and bright blue eyes or dark, deep brown eyes. I find attraction in a lot of the different physical features of different places. I think that's what makes women beautiful is like their individual beauty. But obviously, healthy skin. I like normally a bit thicker. I think I'm like a bigger guy. And so I like to have like thicker legs, like thicker butt, obviously, and like some size where other guys that may be a bit more intimidated by that. I love it. I don't know why. Maybe it's biological. I have no idea. But I like healthy, strong, like thick but not fat, lower half. Um, between 5'4" and 5'9".
mm-hmm.
Um, but I mean, there's beautiful women in the Middle East. There's beautiful women in Russia and Brazil and
I think Brazil
all
may
of them.
have more
Yeah,
like
definitely.
forms.
Yep. And I lived there for 10 months. So yes.
Okay. And do you have any parts like what parts in woman body you notice first, and for you it's like the most important?
Hmm. Yeah, I think a smile tells a lot.
Yeah.
Um, if she smiles with her eyes or if she just smiles with her mouth, I think it tells a lot about how connected she is with her emotions or how comfortable and safe she feels
Yeah.
expressing her emotions. I'm not saying she has to dramatically laugh her ass off like when I first meet her, but it's like, does she smile with her whole face or she just smile with her mouth? And I think that can tell me a lot. Also, obviously, the eyes. The eyes can tell you a lot also. Like, not just, there's the color on the inside, but then the color on the outside. And so this is something one of my best friend really like shined a light on for me which is really looking at the outer color of the whites. And you can tell a lot about someone's internal health, emotionally and physically, by looking at the colors of the white of their eyes. Is it like yellow and a bit red, or is it very white and vibrant and open? So that also tells me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So those two things immediately I see.
Do you have any fetish?
Fetish. I mean, I love a big butt. Like I love a big butt. That, and maybe that's just a normal fetish. But I wouldn't say there's something that I like would be abnormal.
I don't think that's
Like
could be something abnormal. It's just
just something I really like.
yeah, just
Yeah, I like a big butt. Yeah.
good.
Yes.
Um, and I'm interested in one question. Um, because I always been thinking myself about that. Should a girl should be successful in what she does, or it's not really important for you?
Yeah, to me it's more about, does she have the ability to commit to something? Does she have the ability to be good at something that she commits to? Is she consistent?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, those are things that really matter in a long-term relationship, because I think that says a lot about her ability to probably be a good mom. If she can commit to something, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a career, but just a hobby or something she really cares about. Like, can she consistently show up and continue to do that thing over and over again,
So it's more
consistently?
willpower and
Yes, it's more about the traits that it demonstrates to me. She doesn't have to be a superpower making a bunch of money. Obviously, I want someone that fits my lifestyle, which is someone that has the ability to move about and be in different locations, but she doesn't have to make a bunch of money. Uh, it's just more of like her doing her thing, committing to something and showing that she can commit to something. She doesn't even have to be super successful at it. I don't care about that. Um, but it's more about those traits that she demonstrates.
do you have any deal breaker job for girls? Like you meet a girl
I
and
mean, OnlyFans.
OnlyFans, okay.
Yeah. Um, but then obviously, I think for me in the long term, it would be something of, if she has a job that she'll never be able to be mobile with. Um, that's a big one, because obviously I love to be mobile. I love to move about, be different places, and I'm not gonna wait up for somebody
But
to live my life.
she could be a doctor. It's
Yeah.
really nice job, but she's not. She can't go anywhere, and she.
Yeah, but I don't care. Like you say it in a way that like it gives it some kind of significance. But I don't give it that same significance.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? Like if she's a doctor, it doesn't that, or if she's a content creator online, like it makes no difference to me. If she's smart with what she does, that's more about what it is. Like, does she have an intelligence um, that she clearly has? It doesn't have to be like what society says is generally intelligent. Because I've met a lot of females that, let's say, are doctors, but they're very disconnected from their body, right? They're very like hyper type A and always need to be in control. And I just don't do well with that personality type, because I would say I'm very on top of my shit. I know what I want. I go after what I want. And so another person that wants to like try to always be in control, that's not, we don't connect in that way. And so I'll have to be fighting for my masculine role in the relationship dynamic. That's just not something I'm willing to do. So I'm not saying all female doctors are like that, but I just don't value what society values when it comes to me in an intimate relationship. You see?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, she's a doctor. Okay, well, is she connected to her body? Okay, well,
She's mobile.
right. Is she mobile?
Yeah.
Right. Does she have like a nurturing, loving, caring, a big butt, nurturing, loving, caring side to her? But so I'm more concerned about those things compared to like her job or the money she makes. Right. I make my own money. I make money for us. So that's not something that I need. I don't need a mommy figure. I need a woman that's capable of being an incredible wife and a credible mother. That's what I care about.
So now we are getting to my next questions.
Yes.
It's about role of a man and women in a relationship, and you mentioned that you are providing for your family. You said that it's you who can make money for a family.
Yes.
But what is the role of a woman then? And do you expect her to provide to your relationships?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is I want to start by saying there is no, I don't think, perfect way for a man to be and perfect way for a woman to be. I think the most important thing for men and women is to really understand who you are
Yeah.
and what balance of masculine and feminine you hold, and then find someone that really complements that. Okay. So when I'm talking, I'm only talking from my human because I know my human well and I know what my human needs.
And what is the balance of masculine and feminine energy in you?
I would say I have a very balanced,
50-50?
or no, like, I don't know, it's tough to answer. I like maybe 70-30.
Okay.
I've always been a very emotionally connected kid. Like I had this like feminine intuitive understanding at a very young age, but also had the willpower and the drive and the persistence of a very masculine man. So I have a good balance of both within me. So for me, I actually don't mind a woman that is independent, that has a level of like competency of how to do things in the world, because like I don't want to have to, like, some guys want their woman to be doing absolutely nothing and like be there just as a good looking toy that they can look at and show off. Like I want a woman that can actually provide more value to my life than just that, where she wants to go out of her way to do nice things for me. She wants to try to contribute to the betterment of our relationship and to really bring us what we want together, not just be this like doll that wants to be pampered. Like that doesn't vibe with me. And if you ask me, it's not how we're created, right? Like generally a man is responsible for going out and taking care of the dynamics of the family. And if he's overly focused on pleasing the woman, making sure she's always fine and she's just uh, a pleasure seeking woman, then he's not actually putting time and energy into advancing and growing what they have. So I think that whole idea of like a man needing to always pamper and over cater to a woman and make her always happy by doing all these things for her, and she's just sitting back and just like being a pretty object, like that doesn't resonate with me. So I want someone that's capable of being competent, of contributing to where we're going, and wants to contribute and wants to be someone that is actively being part of what we're building and growing. So, yeah.
What is then? Can you explain me what for you masculine and feminine energy in women? Like,
Yeah.
what does it mean? For example, masculine energy in women. What?
Well, I think masculine energy is generally the driver, the one going after something, the one making it happen. Not necessarily overly focused on being intuitive, but more just committing to the process, making something happen at all costs. And I think the feminine energy is a bit more intuitive based, a little bit more non-linear. When I say non-linear, meaning like more inspiration based, more like if I do this thing, somehow it's going to be contributing to the bigger goal, but we might not know exactly how right away. She just trusts that an intuitive sense is correct.
Yeah, I agree.
It's way less based on making things happen and more about taking care of yourself, and then from that place allowing inspiration to flow through you. So I have a little bit of both within me, and I don't mind a little bit of both in a woman, but I just don't want her predominant driving energy to overpower what I want with my life, because I know what I want. So if there's a woman that thinks that she knows what she wants me to fit into her role because she has a really strong idea of what she wants, and we just don't mix. So I'm looking for a woman that wants to be part of my life and wants to contribute to my life and thinks it'll be a great time and she'll have an amazing life because she's choosing to be part of my life rather than me fitting into what she thinks that she wants. But I guess in that case, then I would fit into what she would want, but it's more she doesn't want me to like fit into a small little box. She just wants to come along for the journey that I'm on, and we go on it together.
And I've always been asked one question, and actually, I don't know the answer for myself yet. Uh, we all know that there is no perfect match, perfect relationships. Um, there is always something that you have to either work with or just to be okay with that. And what is this for you and woman or your relationships that you maybe don't want it to be like that, but you are okay because you understand that there is no perfection.
Hmm. Like, what are the little things that I'm okay with that
Yeah.
it's a very difficult question
Yeah, I know.
to answer for me.
Because when I think about that, I always don't like. I don't want to answer because I want everything to be perfect, as I imagine it.
Yeah.
And when I have to pick something that I don't like,
Yes.
but I'm okay with that. I don't know.
No, well,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I actually had a conversation with a girl the other day about this in particular, and I'll say what she said. It really actually resonated with me.
Yeah.
So she said, yes, you can go through the whole process of like doing checked boxes as far as what you want in someone else,
Yeah.
or you can take the top 10 things that you feel you really are most important to you, and you can package them and create a feeling out of it. And so that feeling, you really have to get really in tune with that feeling. And then when you find someone that matches that feeling based off of all putting all those things together that you really want, then that's really what you're looking for anyway. So if there's a couple of things on the outside that don't quite match perfectly, in the long run, that feeling that you have to what you really want can supersede or overpower some of those little things around you. You see?
Yeah.
So if you can get really clear about what that feeling is and what that person feels like, then all the other stuff, yeah, there's going to be moments when you might feel a bit disconnected or things happen, but you know that you can always go back to, okay, this was the exact feeling that I knew that I wanted. And that's not necessarily feeling just butterflies, but getting clear about the feeling before it happens. So I thought that was very interesting.
How to do this?
Well, I think you write.
Try.
Yeah, so you write down the top 10 things. Okay. And then you put it all into a box, metaphorically. Okay. You close your eyes and you really feel into what they feel like. And if you need to, what she asked me was, she said, is there someone in your life that you feel like would, like a woman in your life, maybe like your mom, grandma, aunt, or something of that nature, that you feel really embodies that and like the feeling you get when you're around her?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh shit, that's pretty smart. And so I said my grandma. She was someone that embodies a lot of the things that I talked about before. And I really tuned into that feeling that I got when I was around her. Um, and so that, I mean, it made sense to me. Yeah, because that's the feeling that I want to have when I'm around a woman.
Do you believe in love at first sight?
I don't know. I'm a pretty complex person. So
Do you believe
for
in
me
love?
personally,
Okay.
do I believe in love? I mean, it depends on what, I think there's all different kinds of love.
Like real love, when you
Like,
unconditional love, like when you can do anything for that person, to live and die, it's necessary for that.
I mean, I don't think dying for somebody is actually that big of a deal. I think it's easier to die for someone. And I think people will say they'll die for somebody, but
My biggest fear.
yeah, but can you live for somebody? I think is the question, right? Can you like consistently show up every single day and be the person that you know?
Sacrifice your lifestyle.
Well, it just like be the person that you know you have to be to be your best self, right? Like know what you need in a relationship to make sure that you can consistently show up and be the person you need to be to make sure that other person is good. Because if you don't know how to take care of yourself, then eventually that relationship's going to fade because you're not going to be able to show up as the person that you originally were when you got into that relationship, which happens in a lot of relationships. And it happens because people don't know themselves. So when you really know yourself and you know what you need in a relationship, then you're able to make sure you satisfy those things outside of the relationship, making sure that you consistently show up and be that person that you were in day one, 3 years from now. But people are disconnected from that because they just feel something and then abandon themselves completely and get into a relationship and think that the relationship is going to somehow make them fill that void that they don't have with themselves, that they haven't filled within themselves, and that'll never work. So I think it's very, very important. So it's like, can you live for yourself? Right? Can you live for the other person? Oh, you're good. Instead of dying for someone, because I think it's like sounds good to say you'll die for somebody, but that doesn't take any real effort. It's like, oh, bullet done. Oh, you're dead. But like, I think every day living for someone like that is a more difficult task.
I agree.
Yeah.
Do you want relationships right now?
Hmm. I don't want a relationship right now. I want someone that I feel like adequately fits into my life, that brings value to my life. So I'm open to that happening, but I also feel no pressure to make that happen. I really enjoy my own company. I enjoy a lot of the other relationships I have around me. And so I'm not in a rush to get into a relationship. But I would really like to bring a person in that does fit that and that I fit for them as well, obviously. So no rush, but I'm open to it.
And what do you expect from relationships? Like, you're really happy right now with your life, with
Yeah.
your lifestyle. And what can woman give to you that add to your life if you really have deep relationship with her?
Yeah. So something that I really value is like the work that I do is very, as much as I don't really want to admit it, it's very emotionally taxing. I do very deep emotional work with people. And so
Imagine, yeah.
doing that, 6 times a day, I can do without a problem. But I want to be able to go back to someone and really relax, um, not have to worry about trying to over entertain. Now, I naturally do nice things for the person I love or that I'm with, but that really just enjoys my presence. And I don't have to feel like I'm having to perform because that's just being vulnerable. That's something I've always had. And I found it in a relationship when I feel like I have to like overperform, which I mentioned this earlier. I naturally eventually rebel against that relationship because of it's kind of like I want the relationship to be a safe place for me, not a place that I have to like
Yep.
overperform. Now, it's not to say, like I said, I won't do nice things and be an incredible guy to the woman I'm with, but I want that place to be something that's just calming, relaxing, peaceful. Now, obviously, we'll do fun things, but I think that that requires a woman to have to be pretty confident in herself, pretty secure in herself, um, to be able to be with a guy like me that's hyper independent, that really values his freedom, and just where there's not problems created that aren't major problems. Now, I know obviously women are more emotional, and I have no problem being there and supporting her through whatever she has going on. But unnecessary problems because of a massive amount of insecurity that she might have is not something that I really want to deal with. And so if that exists, then that's not something that I want part of my life.
Um, does it mean that you um are like more about open relationships,
No, not necessarily.
but you can be in open relationships? I mean,
Well, is it
both
something that
date others.
if I'm openly committing to being in a relationship, then no, that's not something that I want. I don't feel just like a casual openness with being with multiple people. Yeah, but it's good. With being with multiple people, us doing it as in a relationship like works. Now, if it's with someone that I'm like not really that into, uh, but we're having a great time and we're kind of mutually bringing value to each other's life,
Yeah.
then maybe I would be open to that. But at this point in my life, it's not really something that I want because I don't feel like it works over the long run. I've seen really good relationships in my life. My parents, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, and it just a lot of the relationships I've seen. There hasn't been very many that I've seen that actively, openly work in the long run being open like that. So if I really cared about her, no, that would be something I would be open to. But if it's something a bit more casual, sure. But I'm not really in a casual place in my life either where I'm having a lot of casual encounters. Like I'm very selective with who I decide to engage with sexually and intimately. And that has to be a relationship dynamic where I feel like I'm receiving as much value that I'm giving. And so I'm pretty selective right now about who I engage with intimately.
I'm talking about sex.
Yeah, let's do it. Like that.
Yeah. Mm, what do you think about sex after first date, second date, third date?
Yeah, so I think it depends a lot on like in terms of men. Like I think sex can massively influence your perspective of someone.
Yes.
And so, I mean, that's men and women, especially men that maybe have a bit more of a sensitive side. I know me, I have a bit of a sensitive side. So engaging in sex can sway, and I think most men have this, can sway how you really feel about somebody. And some women are incredibly talented at sex, and that gets men um, kind of loopy in their brains. And so they lose the ability to really like see if this woman's a wife or if this woman is just someone that's a short term option. And so by holding off for a period of time, I think it's smart as a man to do that, to really get clear about how he's really feeling about a woman before he engages sexually. Now, it also depends too if you're a guy that has never really learned how to, let's say, like seduce per se, or learn how to like create sexual intimacy and chemistry. That's kind of a different story. I think it's important for men to learn how to build that and create that in relationship dynamics with women. But when you're ready to actually like have someone you want to be with for the long term, cutting out sexual relationships that you know aren't going to bring you long term value, and taking some time to get to know somebody before having sex is important.
Hmm. So, do you think that if two people who is really matching, but they had sex very fast, to say, let's say on the first days,
Yeah.
and since it's happened very fast, you don't really know each other at that moment. You don't feel the person. You don't know the
Yeah.
emotional part of that person, like everything.
Yeah.
So it can spoil the relationships after because you just. But it was the perfect match for you,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
So can it be like that? That you
It
do
can.
well with sex.
Yeah, because you speed up the emotional connection process,
Yeah.
right? So when you speed up anything before it's ready, it's like trying to speed up the speed in which a cake is baking in the oven. Like if you take it out too quick, just because you want it done faster, it's not going to be done. It's not going to be the actual product. So it can be intelligent. Are you watching here? To not do that, so you don't speed up the emotional process and let it develop as it might. So, but then again, like there's the other elements of it with guys where they sometimes don't know and they need that post nut clarity per se. Have you heard the post nut clarity? That so it's after a guy comes, he like gets like a realization of how he really feels about the girl. And so if you never
Once
yeah,
go away.
yeah, exactly. So if you never get that, then it might be difficult to be able to really feel into how valuable that woman is to you. But then again, I would say there's a caveat to that. If you're a man that really knows himself and knows what he wants at a deep level, I would argue you don't need post nut fucking clarity to know if a girl's right for you or not. Right? So a lot of guys need that because they're just not aware of themselves
Yeah.
and their own internal value system. So they can like, they're disconnected from that. So they need that. But I would say that's why, as a man, you have to take the time to really understand yourself, know who you are, really get good with your own aloneness, So in the presence of a woman, you don't need to have that post nut clarity to determine how you really feel about it. Yeah. Also, at the same time, right? Like, I'm not saying just because if a woman sleeps with you on a first date that she does that with other men, but most high value men, they look at women that are able to sleep with them on a first date and they automatically think, oh, I'm a fucking stud. There's probably a bunch of other fucking studs that took her out and had sex with her on a first date. So do I really want to keep seeing her? I don't know. But I'm not saying it's always true though, right? Because there's other times when a guy might have sex with a girl on a first date and it continues. But it's a gamble, I think, if you give in and get seduced by a man on a first date, those thoughts will definitely probably linger in his mind if if she's doing that with other guys.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, I've heard, not that it was with me, but I'm heard that it's normal for a man to ghost after sex, first sex, just to get some space, to think. And it doesn't mean that he's not that into that girl. He just needs his time
Yes.
to think. Is it true, or it always means that this girl is just
Well, yeah. So everybody has their ways of responding to very intense emotions, right? So it's not even just about sex, but it could just be a super intimate experience that a girl has with a guy where you guys are like vibing at such a deep level and you're super fucking connected. And you know what I'm talking about when you have that with a guy where it's like everything's clicking, you're like in the moment, it's so powerful. And then he might ghost. And it's because he's trying to process through the emotions that he felt. And girls are generally much better at processing their emotions. So girls going to be like, she's gonna be like, well, we had an amazing time. Like, why are you not still wanting to talk to me? Like, we had amazing sex. Like, what's the deal? Right. And now sometimes he isn't interested. Okay. So I'm not gonna say it's all the time. And most, but guys generally take a little bit more time to really like process how they're feeling. But also like with the dude who's really on his path and like going after what he wants, if he feels really intense feelings, he's going to start to feel himself getting out of control and his brain's gonna start going in a different direction than where it was going before. And that's scary. Yeah. So that's very scary for a guy that's let's say like very high value or very autonomous in his life because he's like, my life's so good. Now this fucking girl is in my head and I don't know what to do with that. And she's kind of like getting in the way of my plan because I want to spend more time with her than I want to spend on my business, but I have to keep spending time on my business if I want to grow my business. And so there's all these different thoughts that happen in the mind of a guy that really functions in a very autonomous, freedom-based way. And I say it to a lot of women, I say, wait, when you're wanting a guy like that, you have to be willing to be in that space of him slowly coming around to it because he already has a vision for his life. He already has a vision for his life and what he wants. Whereas maybe another guy who doesn't have a big vision for his life and he's not that committed to what he wants, and he's going to be more likely to continue quicker in that relationship because he doesn't have a plan. So he's going to be a bit more like, oh, fuck it. This is great. I don't really have that much of a plan. So let's keep going. Right. But a guy that is very independent and has a deep idea for what he wants with his life, it's going to really fuck with his head finding a girl that he's really into. And he very easily could ghost, not because he's not interested, but because he just needs some space to process and see how it can fit into his life or not. And as a girl that likes a guy like that, it's going to require you to have to be patient and for you to have to overcome your insecurity associated with that. Because if you want the dude that's the badass dude that's doing big things in his life, you have to be willing to have enough security in yourself to not push him into doing something before he's ready. And because if you do that, he's just going to go, oh, okay, I'm out. Even though he might actually be feeling feelings for her. But oftentimes that guy that's crushing it in his life, he can be a bit disconnected from his deeper emotional feelings. And so if you push him too soon to like commit, or you push him too soon to be over communicative in the relationship, like texting all the time or whatever, you can easily push him away and never really have the chance to really get him and hook him in.
if it's happening like this, as you mentioned, like a guy just distracting for a while, gets pulled, ghost, I don't know. just to think about his emotions, as you said. Um, what do you think if at that in that period a fan girl would just text and ask like, "Hey, how are you? Maybe you want to meet or something, go out somewhere." Or girls should just wait till he makes actions.
Yeah, I think I don't want to get robotical, right? Or robotic, because I feel like the dating advice world makes people very robotic. They're like, well, if this happens, what do I do? Oh, if this happens, what do I do? And I don't think life works like that. I think every situation is very specific. I just think the awareness for women to know that, right? Like, hey, this is what's probably going on in his head. So you can chill the fuck out because he just needs some time to process emotion. I'm not saying don't text him. But what I am saying is don't overly pressure him to try to make a decision or to try to um, be over communicative past the point of where he's at. Right. So you can text him. Like if you want to text him and that feels good to you, go for it. But is the place you're texting him from a place of anxiety? Or is it from a place of like, oh, this just feels right. I'm gonna send this. So it's really important for you as a woman to like tune into the source that inspiration is coming from. If it's coming from anxiety, I probably pump the brakes. But if it's coming from a place of like, ooh, I just really want to
Yeah.
message him, that feels nice, then message him. Because he's not going to ghost you forever if he's actually into you, right? He will respond. He just needs to not feel pressure. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So having that awareness that a woman can like say, okay, he's probably going through this. Then she can nestle into that awareness. And then from there, figure out, okay, is this action I want to take from anxiety? Or is this from a place of, ooh, this just feels good, feels like the right thing to do? We'll see.
I agree.
So that's the most important thing I think in so many relationship dynamics is like somehow having a greater understanding of what's happening. And the more awareness you can have to what's happening, the more you can have more empathy for the other person's situation. And the more you can be less anxious, causing you to take less action from anxiety and more action from inspiration. Because some people might look at a situation and they'll say, well, never double or triple text somebody. Never do that. But the truth is that like sometimes it's not a bad thing to do. Sometimes it like really awakens someone to the real desire that the other person has for you, right? It all just depends on what that person means to you. So if you hold back and you don't let yourself text, then maybe they're feeling insecure and they're already kind of like withdrawn. Because a lot of dudes that are like, we'll say high value, they're already kind of like disconnected, and you never allow yourself because you're holding yourself back as a woman to be a bit more vulnerable and like message when you want to, then that could cause him just kind of like think, oh fuck, well, she maybe is not even interested in me because men have their insecurities too. So if there was a lot of emotion that happened in that space and the sex was amazing, like he's gonna be a little bit insecure too, but he's gonna be wondering, okay, did she really enjoy herself as much as I did? Is she really feeling the same thing I am? So it's important for women and for men to both realize that like trust if it was an amazing situation. If you know it went amazing, it was awesome and it was great, trust that. Don't second guess it. Then make a decision from that place. You see? Because if you're both making a decision from a place of maybe they didn't enjoy it, maybe I have to pull back, maybe I shouldn't say anything, then that just like creates, I think, more closed offness. But that's the risk you take with trying to find someone you really connect with is being vulnerable. So not being vulnerable and like completely like blocking yourself off
Yeah.
to sharing like what really is true for you. Um, that just I don't think that really benefits anybody in the long run. It just creates spaces where you're both now reacting to each other's blocked offness. And that really doesn't create anything good. So ideally, men could be able to articulate that. Men could be like, hey, I just want you to know that
Yeah.
what happened was really intense for me and I need a couple days just to process. That would be ideal. Right. Then as a woman, you could say, okay, great. Then not push him, but just let that be okay. Not second guess it. Not be like, well, maybe he wasn't interested in me and maybe it wasn't good. Just like trust him if he says that and then just step back. Then from there, I think it's very easy as a woman because then you just let him, when he's ready, he'll kind of come in. But if he doesn't articulate that, it makes it more difficult for a woman. So I think it's important for men, if you are experiencing that, to be able to then say, hey, to a woman, that was a lot. Like I loved our time together, but I need some space to process the emotion. That can be very helpful. So being able to articulate that, I think, could be really, really good.
This is exactly the way I would answer that question.
Yeah,
Yeah, really.
that's great. I think it's good.
But you said it even better.
Oh, well, thank you. There's a lot of words, but I think it's important, especially in the world of dating and advice. Like I said, it's so hard because there's so many people saying, if she does this, then you do this. If he does this, then you do that. And that's just not how life is. So it's more about taking action from a centered, calm place than taking any type of robotic action. So really tuning into yourself and saying, hey, am I doing this because I feel anxiety and I need to try to get out of this anxiety by doing this? Or is this coming from a pure place of like, yeah, I want to text them. Okay, cool. Boom. I'm going to text them and see how that feels and sit back. So if you're in an anxious place in a relationship dynamic, your goal should be first trying to find some level of stability in yourself before you react or send something.
Everything that you say, it could be, cut to the real,
Yes. Oh, good.
like a quote,
Yeah. Yeah. But like I said, I want to reiterate, it's fucking hard because there is all these dating coaches and people saying, this happens, do this happens, do this.
Yeah, a lot of
And
manipulations.
well, then that,
Games.
yes. And it's all just, you're just, in the long run, you're just reacting to each other's robotic actions.
Yeah.
Right. And like, you can't really get anywhere with that. Then that's what the relationship is built on in the beginning. So it's more about, are you mature enough to get into a relationship dynamic? Like, have you taken the time to deal with your own anxiety?
Yeah.
Have you taken the time
Vulnerability.
to really become more confident in yourself, to feel comfortable sharing where you're really at without emoting or without like emotionally dumping on someone,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, do you have that ability or do you not? I think those things are very important to think about before getting into a situation where you're ready to
Yeah,
date
for sure.
seriously, right? Because if you're, you just want to date for fun and, you know, learn things about yourself, learn things about other people, I guess it's a bit different. It's less necessary. But I think generally, how a situation starts is how it'll finish. And if you want something for the long run, being able to operate in more of that um, authentic, non-anxious place is ultimately the best way to show up.
Mm.
Yeah. Puppy.
And okay, last questions here, and then I'll ask you about different countries.
Okay.
So, what is the difference between situationship and relationship for you?
Well, I just think it's like, to me, in my mind, it's like, well, am I asking you to be my girlfriend? Am I not? And so I guess you're probably talking, okay, well, how are the actions different? I think there's a certain types of actions that I notice are inspired in me that really make me want to have someone be my girlfriend. Are they bringing out certain things in me or are they not? Um,
So, what's the situationship?
yeah, for me, a situationship is like hanging out, going on dates, having a good time, living more for the fun and excitement of the situation than putting intention into trying to build something. So I'm probably going to be,
Relation.
yeah, so I'm probably not going to care if we have sex fast, right? I'm probably not going to like be thinking about those things because I know it's not something for the long run.
How do you know? Like you can't imagine that person to be your wife in
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So, turning back to different countries and mentalities.
Yeah.
Do you see any difference in mentality? I mean, like real difference. You dated a Russian girl, for example.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to know.
Yeah. So on the surface, yes. But at the core, I think women are generally similar when you get past the cultural ways that they live their life. Like I would say the two extremes are Russians and Brazilians. And I think they're like kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, where Brazilians are like fun, open, like really expressive, like will shake their ass all over the place and be super open, like the heart's super open right away. And then the Russians are a bit more like reserved, little more like elegant in their expression, little more like you kind of have to get to know me first before you get to see these other parts of me, right? So it's the two extremes, which I think both are really beautiful things. But I think as a man, you have to really understand like well, what really makes you feel the best? What are the cracks that that woman's filling in for you? As far as the things you feel like you need, as far as your personality goes, or like, are you a guy that's already really reserved and closed off? Maybe you want to date someone that's not to like bring out a different side of you.
Mhm.
Are you someone that's really open and expressive and could probably learn how to be a little bit more conservative and withdrawn? Well, maybe you need to try dating a Russian woman, right? So it's just those are the two extremes examples of both ends of the spectrum. A lot of other countries and cultures kind of fall in between there, I think.
So I have to find some crazy guy for me then, if I'm Russian.
A Brazilian guy,
Yeah,
maybe.
it was just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it could be good from the standpoint of learning how to activate different parts of yourself,
Uh-huh.
right? That you normally wouldn't activate. So maybe in the long run, the differences are too much to be together. But in the short run, being good friends with someone that is from maybe the opposite sex of a different culture can open up certain parts of yourself that you really actually enjoy. So I think that's the power of a lot of, dating and getting to know just people in general of different cultures, is that they bring out different parts of you that you maybe didn't even know existed. Right? I dated a Colombian girl for 2 years. And where I'm from South Dakota. It's a small little state in the United States. We're very conservative. We're very closed off. You're not cocky. You just put your head down. You work hard. You don't talk about your accomplishments. You don't express yourself. You don't dance generally, right? It's very closed off as a people. And so dating a Colombian girl, which is the opposite, very expressive, very open, loves dancing. She really exposed those different worlds to me in ways that I enjoyed. Like I found that as uncomfortable as dancing was, as I learned how to dance a little bit and get into it, I found I enjoyed doing it. It made me feel good doing it.
Mm.
So that could be the cool part about exposing ourselves to not just in the sense of dating, but different people of different cultures, is that we can learn more about different parts of ourselves that maybe our environment growing up didn't allow us to see.
Mm. So you think that it's on the surface level there are some differences, but if you find a really person, it's not about the country, it's about the personality, yeah?
Yeah.
So deep values are maybe the same.
hmm
It doesn't like it, it don't depend on the country that this person was born.
Yes, that's true. But also a difficult thing to overcome, I think, is cultural differences, right? Like,
Cultural, yeah.
so you can balance each other well if you're very different, but then there's not going to be certain things that you can relate to or have empathy for because you never grew up with that. And so if you're too far away, right, maybe a Russian and a Brazilian coming together, it could just lead to a shitstorm because neither one of you will really understand each other at all because you won't know culturally what that person went through or the way people are in that place. So you might take things more personal, or you might um, be quick to like judge them because you just don't understand. You're too far away on the spectrum. So that can be the downside to dating in different parts of the world if your culture and how you show up are that much different. But I think it's the same thing with how you're raised too, right? Like if you're raised with families that were similar, then you're going to get each other a little better. So it's not just the cultural differences, it's just the life in general that you live or how you grew up. Generally, if it's more similar, you're going to get each other a little better and maybe you'll get along a little better.
Mhm.
So that's the one thing that you do have to overcome when it comes to dating different cultures. It takes a little bit longer to understand each other, which can actually be a very fun process if you both are very patient. Um, but it takes patience, I think. It takes time.
Do you have any stories from your life, from your experience, when these deep cultural differences, like you faced cultural differences, and maybe you overcome them or not? But
Yeah,
some examples.
for sure. So, I mean, that Colombian girl, for example, we could not have came from more opposite backgrounds, honestly. She came from a family dynamic where her mom was the one that really made things happen. Dad was an absolute bum. They didn't have a whole lot at all, lived in the ghettos of Colombia. They lived right next to where Pablo Escobar his house was
Oh.
in the ghettos in Medellin, Colombia. And her family hadn't really experienced much outside of what they knew. I come from a bit of a different dynamic where my parents are still together. We have a really close, tight-knit family. Um, and we grew up with a cornfield in our backyard, very peaceful upbringing. We didn't have a lot of money, but life was pretty peaceful in general as our family unit and everything.
Contrast.
Yeah.
Pablo Escobar.
All right. And like a cornfield. It's very, very different. And so that was something that we definitely struggled with, where there was things that I thought that she just should know about life. There's things that she wanted me to understand or maybe have more empathy for, even though I hadn't experienced it. So I actually think that the gap was too wide for us, which is why we ended up breaking up. And that could definitely easily happen if there's too much of a gap in those. So I think that's something I learned, and that there has to be some more similarities in our upbringing and cultural understandings for us to um, not have to overcome as much, right? Like not making it more
Yeah.
hard on myself.
Yeah.
So that can be really good. And finding someone that you want to be with is finding someone that comes from a relatively similar upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it can either trigger each other a lot, or you can really understand each other a lot through having like similar upbringings or similar cultural understandings. But you can come from completely different cultures and still have similar upbringings, right? There's no matter what culture you're in or where you're from, there is universal ways of being raised that you can resonate with that person. But if you run into a lot of issues in a relationship, you should probably look at some of those things and be like, fuck, like we actually are completely different. We don't understand each other because we have these very different upbringings or cultural ways of being. And they can be difficult things to overcome.
Mm-hmm. So it is possible to date with a foreigner, but it may be a little bit more complicated for you.
Correct.
You can overcome almost everything if you are ready to work on relationships. I mean, and
Hmm.
but the question is that do you really want this
Yes,
a lot of work to be? Yeah.
absolutely. And I think it's important to recognize that, hey, if we do come from major different cultural backgrounds
Yeah.
and we do have very different family upbringings, then it's not going to always be easy. And to expect that it will be because you're riding on the hormones of the excitement of the honeymoon phase, I think that's a bit naive. So it's important to it can be very helpful with getting into one of these relationships of saying, okay, we come from very different cultural and familiar backgrounds. This is something that we're going to have to really work on in understanding each other if this is going to work.
Yeah.
So it can be something very good to have an awareness of before getting into the relationship, uh, without having to wait, 8 months till the hormones to wear off, and you're like, holy shit, we're so different. We don't understand each other. Oh my gosh, we're screwed. And we're already so deep into this.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
it can be just good for awareness, but it can definitely be done. Like you said, if both people have
Yeah.
the
Sure.
desire to do it.
For sure. So, couple last questions
Mhm.
about money.
Okay. Great.
What do you think about 50-50 on a date?
I don't do that
Oh, why?
because I like to feel like a man. And I know there's men that don't have a lot of pride in feeling like a man. And so they take actions in their life
Mm-hmm.
that are easier and that are a bit more, we'll say, feminine in their nature because they don't have respect for what it is to be a man. And I do. And I love being able to provide and create a space where a woman can be a woman. And that requires me to have to be a man. So I will pay for a date, but now things can be a little bit complicated now that women have
Yeah.
more money and more freedom. And navigating that I know is like a big thing for a lot of people I know, where it's like, how do I maintain the integrity of being a man, but this woman also has a lot of resources? And I think it's important if you are in a relationship to have that conversation. Now, we're not talking about like a first date, right? Like first date, no brainer. Like, yeah, man's paying, second date, man's paying. But after there's like an established relationship, then it's a conversation you guys, I think you have to have, where I also don't think it's right for a woman to just hoard her money and a guy to pay for everything. I think a woman that cares about a man should want to do nice things with her money for that man,
Mhm.
and she does. So I also don't believe in the concept of what is it people say? Uh, what's hers is hers, what's mine is ours. What men say, right? So a girl,
Favorite Russian.
yeah, it's the same thing in Russian. Yeah, I think that's just not how things should be. I think a woman that really is into a man and cares deeply about him should want to invest her resources into him and into the relationship dynamic. So she should want to be doing some of those things. But that's where, people have different preferences, right? Some people want just a princess that wants to be taken care of and not contribute to creating a better life for each other, where I don't want that. So I want to take care of someone in a way of doing nice things for them and paying for the majority of things. But I also want someone that wants to invest in me, right? That wants to like put her resources into me and what we're building together. So it just really comes down to, I think, preferences for what somebody wants. And I'm not someone that wants just a selfish princess. I want someone that has a deep level of care for me and wants to. And I think when you care about someone, you want to delegate your resources towards making their life better and easier. So I think I'd be with a woman that would naturally want to do that. There wouldn't be the expectation, like, "Hey, you're paying for these things." But like the girls that I love to be around are the girls that will sneak around me paying, they'll like go pay for it behind my back, right? Like I'll always pay first. Like I'll always be the one to do that. But a girl that wants to like be sneaky and like quickly pay before I do, because I'm always gonna pay. That to me, I'm like, okay, that means a lot to me. That tells me like she really appreciates what I do for her and she wants to give back. And so that's someone I want to be with, is someone that wants to like give back. It also shows like a little bit of like autonomy too. It's just like where she can kind of take the lead in a moment where she feels like it's really right. I'm okay with delegating that leadership to her as well. Like I don't have to always be in control of everything. I want her to be able to provide value. And if there's moments where she's really good at something and she knows something better than I do, then she can contribute and she can take the lead on that specific thing. But in general, I'm the one that holds the space. I'm the one that pays for the majority of things. I'm the one that really creates that the structure for us to live in, where she feels safe enough to be her greatest version of herself. And that should include her wanting to do nice things for me and our relationship.
Sounds perfect. Do you give flowers on the first dates?
No.
Why? Y- Because in Russia it's like something that we really expect from guys. For us, so normal. Like it can be even strange when guy don't give a flower. Not on the first date, of course. Maybe after
Yeah, so
third.
I think I'm not saying all guys that give flowers are compensating,
Yeah.
but I think it can be a great compensation method for lacking depth and substance on a first date, right? Like I don't know you. I'm just getting to know you. I think getting flowers to a woman that you care about and that you love is very, very good. But a first date, absolutely not. We're just getting to know each other, and I can bring value in other ways, um, to where she feels incredibly seen, where she can relax and just enjoy herself. But whereas there's some other guys that the only value they have is their money, and the only value that they really bring to that situation is like over giving of physical things. And I guess it makes sense, but every dude knows what he can give and how he can provide value. And every dude just going to do that. So that's not a way I feel like I have to provide value. I feel like I provide value in other ways. And I've never been in a situation where a girl doesn't want to see me again because I didn't bring flowers, because she enjoyed herself so much in the interaction that we had. And we are very connected in that space, so but at the end of the day, guys are just going to do what they feel like they need to do to get a certain result. But that can be one of those cultural differences, though,
Yeah.
that would be important to have a conversation about, because a Russian girl
Yeah.
might see me and be like, "Oh, he didn't bring a flower. That means he's, stingy, or that means he's not into
Don't
me,
care.
doesn't care." Right? So that's why it's so important to be able to have those conversations, and for a girl to be able to feel confident enough to be honest about that, right? Like if she feels that way, like I would have no idea. So I'm just going to be going about the date as if that's not true. But if she's kind of like in her head about it, and it's preventing her from being able to show up and be present, then she should be able to say something. Or she should be like, hey, I'm a little taken back by that, you didn't bring flowers. Does that mean you're not really that interested in me? Right? Compared to like, oh, you didn't bring flowers.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's not the way to do it. That'll demonstrate that you're kind of a bitch, and you don't want to do that. But you also want to be able to be honest about where you're at, right? So step into a little vulnerability and share where you're really at, which is, it seems like you're not interested in me, compared to, why wouldn't you bring flowers, right? One of them is very protected, and the other one is open and honest, you see? And then I'd be more than happy to like talk about that, right? And if a guy's like gets pissed about that, and then she learns a lot about him, right? Or if he's like, why would I bring you flowers? And then maybe he's kind of a dickhead, and maybe he answers that and he's like, hey, honestly, like where I would answer, I would say, honestly, like I really like never do that. I mean, the fact that I'm even going on a date with you, to me, is a big deal. And that implies that I'm obviously like very interested, and I'm here investing this time and energy into you because I want to get to know you. But that's just not generally what I've ever done and what we do in our culture.
Mhm. Mm, and what kind of gifts do you expect from, or like not expect? What kind of gifts a girl can do for a man?
Mm.
Would be feel that feels nice, and you want to get it.
Yeah, so from like, honestly, for me, like, I don't expect a lot. Like, I'm a highly autonomous, independent person. And so I'm always gonna like first do things for myself. It's not normal for me to ask. So I think it means a lot when a girl is attentive to my life and she can see little gaps that I have, because I'm not perfect in my own life, and I can't always do everything perfect for myself. And so I'll give you an example of what a girl did one time.
Mhm.
I was feeling a bit sick, and she made me like, I'm not gonna go buy stuff, from the store generally that I need. I'm just gonna, lay in bed and sweat and drink water and get through it. But she noticed that, and she's like, "Oh, do you have like any of this, or do you have like lemons for some lemon water? Do you have any of these things?" I'm like, "No, I don't have any of that." And she made me like a cute little care package for me when I was sick, like some electrolytes. Like, I was like, "That's fucking amazing!" Like, I appreciated that so much. Um, Another one is like, a girl might learn what I like to eat, and like I love dates. Like I'll say, I love dates. I absolutely love dates. And she makes me like a little snack with dates and like walnuts in it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's fucking amazing. I appreciate that so much. So for me, it's not like big things, but it's small things that she can do that like tell me she's paying attention to me and she's attentive to me. And that tells me she's like actually, invested in the relationship and into me. Um, and that means a lot to me. But I know some guys, they might get turned off by that, but I don't. I think it's like such a kind gesture.
Mhm. Sure.
Yeah. So it's the small things that where she like listens to me and listens to, and I'm sure girls are the same way, right? Like, I think people in general, if someone listens to you and learns where you're kind of lacking in your life and fills in that gap or does something nice based off what you say you like, I mean, it just people feel good about that stuff,
Mhm.
right?
Agree.
Are you kind of the same way? Do you as far as like, are you more like gifts? Like you like very expensive high-end gifts, or is it like smaller things? Like what is it for you?
You know, it's a story from my life. A little story. 3 days ago, I met one guy in the gym. He is a friend of my friend. Let's say so. And we started to talk, and he shares with me that he is struggling with sleep. That it takes him every night. It takes him 1 hour to just fall asleep, and it's a really big problem because he doesn't know what to do with that. And I always, before I go to sleep, I always, burn these essential oils, which helps to fall asleep faster. And immediately I thought that I have to buy a gift for him, this lamp for oils and
Mm.
essential oil itself.
Yes.
So he was so surprised that me, and we are not dating. We are like we never been on a date. Um, it's just I thought about him that it would be nice and pleasant for him to receive such such important thing for him.
Mm.
So this is I think that this is what you are talking about. These small gestures
Yes.
when you really think about the person, really care, and just show it,
Yes.
your gifts and actions.
For sure. When you were talking about that, I could tell when you were talking about it, it came from like a very calm, like, oh, this would be nice to give to him. But you can also give gifts and give things from a place of anxiety too, right? And I think a lot of guys will do that. They're like, oh shoot, is she interested in me? I'm not sure if she likes me or not. Well, let me like do this thing to try to like make sure that she's interested in me, or try to solidify some kind of safety in myself of feeling like she's interested in me. It'd be the same thing. It's like, well, I don't know if he likes me. Let me just do these things to try to get him to like me,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So it's the place you're coming from, and it's also felt in the way that you give it. So is there like a hook at the end of it where it's like, okay, I can feel you're doing this because you want something from me, or you're doing it because that's just what feels nice, and I want to give this to you because this feels nice. And I think it's important. It's the same thing that I talk about with saying something to someone that you're kind of into. Is it coming from a place of anxiety, or is it coming from a place of just like calm desire? Right? Same thing with giving those kinds of gifts.
Yeah.
It's like, is it coming from a place of wanting to try to make sure that they're into you and like solidify that? Or is it coming from a place of just, this would be nice. I wanna do this for this person. That feels good.
I think that's it. And for me, it was so interesting to listen to your thoughts. And as I said, you know, every sentence that you saying could be taken and put into the, real or even book. Really, you have to write a book about relationships because, yeah, it was amazing. I enjoyed the time. And I hope you too.
Yes, absolutely. No, I had a ton of fun. You asked some really, really good questions. We had an awesome flow in the conversation also, and you pulled some really, really good stuff out of me. So anytime someone can do that, I mean, they're obviously very, very talented at what they do. So thank you so much for creating the space for the magic to come out. So thank you for having me.
Yeah. Mhm.